The stars stretched endlessly before Commander Alex Rogan, their cold light reflecting off the sleek surface of the IDF's flagship, Horizon. The ship was silent, save for the hum of its engines and the occasional flicker of the communication system. Rogan stood at the front of the command bridge, staring out into the vast, black expanse of space. He had seen many things in his time as a military officer, countless battles, endless stretches of quiet space and the faces of comrades both lost and saved. But nothing had prepared him for the briefing he had just attended. The Karath had attacked. Commander Rogan, a voice broke through his thoughts. It was Lieutenant Nora Vance, his most trusted officer. She was standing by the data console, her face etched with concern. Sir, the intelligence we've gathered. The Karath didn't just attack. They wiped out an entire colony on the edge of our territory. No survivors, Rogan's jaw clenched. The Karath had been a rising threat for years. Their reputation preceded them, ruthless, cold, and technologically advanced. But this was something different. No warning, no demand, just destruction. We need to respond. Lieutenant Vance continued, her voice steady despite the tension. We can't let this go unpunished. Rogan nodded slowly, his mind racing. The response was obvious, but something gnawed at him. A warning, an old memory. Weeks before the attack, Rogan had visited a forgotten outpost at the edge of human space. He had been there to meet with a mysterious alien oracle, a being whose species had long since vanished into the folds of time. The oracle had been cryptic, her words jarring, almost prophetic. Strike first and they'll never stop, she had told him. Her eyes, deep and knowing, had fixed on him with an intensity that felt almost unnatural. Your war is not just with the Karath. There are darker forces at play. At the time, Rogan had dismissed it. The oracle's words felt too strange, too distant from reality. Humans had always been the peaceful species, the diplomats. A war, especially one with the Karath, felt like a distant possibility. But now the oracle's warning echoed in his mind. Rogan turned away from the viewport, his face set in determination. The Karath had attacked, and now it was time to fight back. He wasn't going to sit back and wait for them to come again. Not after what they had done. Prepare the fleet, Rogan ordered. We move out at once. We'll retaliate and hit them hard. Make them regret this. The fleet was mobilized within hours. Rogan's orders were clear: strike first, strike hard. The Karath needed to feel the consequences of their actions. His battle strategy was simple: attack their fleet, destroy their weapons, and cripple their infrastructure. He knew the risks. He knew that this could escalate into something bigger. But right now there was only one thing on his mind: justice. Rogan's fleet set course for the Karath's outer defense stations. They entered the system without warning, their weapons charged, ready for combat. The first strike came swiftly. Missiles fired, lasers cut through the blackness of space, and explosions rocked the Karath defense perimeter. The battle was fierce. The Karath fought back with unmatched precision, their advanced ships weaving through the debris of battle with a deadly grace. But humanity was strong. Their ships, though smaller and less advanced, were equipped with cutting-edge weapons, and their tactics, honed through decades of conflict, were sharp. For hours the two forces clashed, with neither side giving an inch. Rogan's heart raced as he watched the battle unfold on the command screen. It wasn't just strategy anymore, it was survival. After a long and brutal fight, the Karath fleet began to retreat. Rogan's forces had dealt a blow, but it wasn't enough. The Karath were far from defeated. They would rebuild, regroup, and return with even more fury. The war had only just begun. Rogan stood in the middle of the command bridge, surveying the damage. He could feel the weight of the oracle's words pressing on him. Strike first and they'll never stop. Had he made the right choice? As the horizon turned back towards human space, Rogan received a report from intelligence. The Karath had already begun their retaliation. A planet in a nearby system, one of humanity's outer colonies, was under siege. The news hit Rogan like a punch to the gut. He had hoped the Karath would retreat, reconsider, but now it was clear they would not stop. The Karath had a message, and it was simple. The war was on. Full speed ahead, Rogan barked, his voice laced with urgency. We have to save them. We can't let the Karath destroy another world. But as they approached the colony, it became apparent that they were too late. The once thriving world was a graveyard of burning cities, falling buildings, and empty streets. The Karath had done their work. They had erased everything. Rogan stood in silence as his fleet orbited the devastated colony. The weight of the loss hung heavy in the air. He could feel it, a gnawing sense of guilt. The Oracle's warning rang louder in his mind. What had he done? Had humanity sealed its fate by striking first? Had this cycle of violence already gone too far? The cold, empty voice of the Oracle filled his thoughts again. Strike first and they'll never stop. It was then that the true scale of the Karath's aggression became apparent. No longer were they simply reacting to human actions. They had a purpose: to wipe out humanity, to erase the species that had dared to strike first. Their attacks were no longer about retaliation. They were about extinction. Rogan realized that this war wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a battle to maintain the very soul of humanity. The Karath would not be satisfied until every human was gone, and the cycle of violence would continue until there was nothing left. The Oracle had been right. The Karath would never stop. Every blow would only bring more destruction. Humanity had entered a new era, one where war was not just a threat, it was a reality. And now, Commander Alex Rogan had to lead humanity through it. But the question remained: how could they fight a war that never seemed to end? The answer, Rogan knew, was both simple and terrifying. There would be no turning back. The cycle of violence would continue until one side was left standing, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. As his fleet continued to the next target, Rogan couldn't help but wonder if the Oracle had foreseen more than just the war with the Karath. Had she known that humanity's struggle was far from over?